And we are live. Good day and welcome to A Life in Motion podcast. This is season one, Awakening, episode two, Thankfulness. And I'm already thankful to Christy for bringing the book there, who's definitely here sitting together with us and here by my side. Together, I have with me today Christy and Nora, who will support this lovely discussion. What is thankfulness? How does it work? What are the benefits? And then landing on this question, does practicing gratitude makes us more ambitious or less? They are also going to introduce themselves, and they are going to also explain at the end how you can connect with them if you so wish to. I would definitely recommend that. This is a thankfulness segment, Christy, Nora. I feel deeply thankful to both of you. This is a big investment of your time. I know you have so much in your plates, and it speaks to the giving side of you that I deeply connected with ever since I have met the two of you in very different circumstances. It's a pleasure to have you here, and I would like to invite Christy first to introduce herself.
Thank you, Eduardo. My claim to fame is I'm one of the first people to read A Life in Motion. It's such
You
a
were
good book. I loved it so much. And I've always been grateful for our connection. And I think both of us really love networking and putting people in touch with each other. I would say the one thing I would say about my life is that my purpose has been really clear for a couple decades already, which has been such a joy. It's to create communities of grace. I love to be able to bring people together in just radical acceptance of the light and the shadow within us, the light and the shadow in each other, and just bringing a lot of enjoyment to the spaces that we can co-create. Really the kind of the field between us. I like it when we can feel like, oh, Nora is so wonderful. I can't wait to know her more. And Eduardo is such an excellent person. And so something that I really feel grateful for is human beings and the connections between us. Anytime I get to meet someone new and think how they might really love someone else. So creating communities of grace and then over time learning to be part of them myself has been something that has been such a beautiful part of, I don't know if I would call it ambition, but something I'm really grateful for and so glad that it's part of my life. And then my work at Awaken Coach Institute, which is a place where I kind of use training life coaches as a secret vehicle to just enjoy loving one another that much more. It's one of many, many ways that we can do it. And it's a way that I really enjoy is teaching people to coach. I don't care if anyone becomes a professional coach. I just love it when I get stories back that I could love my wife more, or parenting is so much easier. Team dynamics are so much more joyful. We can connect more because we're just not making up stories about other people so much, and we're curious and in wonder. So that's just a little about me. I live here not too far from either of you. I live in France, just near the border with Basel.
Thank you so much, Christy. I would dare to challenge you that your mission is not so secret anymore, that you're getting famous and everyone knows how you're driving things with love. And not people don't have to believe me. They can just see the last comment on this very live that you made. You wrote to Daniel, you'd love Eduardo. So some people speak, other people act. One of them is definitely you, and I'm so grateful, thankful for having you here with me, Christy.
Mm.
Nora, I would love to welcome you now to introduce yourself to the community.
Thank you, Eduardo. I have the feeling I'm the scientist in this circle, and I have to say I'm already so thankful that you invited me to give my opinion to that, because obviously being a scientist, I prepared, and I have to say I learned so much about it, and I think it's particularly interesting for us non-native speakers because we do have the tendency to put everything in one box, and then it actually takes you a couple of years of practicing a language till you actually get the nuances as well. Um, With respect to my profession, I'm in pharma. I'm a medical affairs expert. I worked actually along the life cycle of a compound. So I did a lot of pre-launch activities. Now I'm really being at the tail end of the product. I worked across affiliates. I work from the US. I'm working for the Global Health Unit out of France at the moment, which means Christi and we are actually neighbors. Before I started my pharma career, I actually was into healthcare. So I'm a certified nurse. And this is also where my motivation of continuing and understanding more about the mode of action behind diseases and also my patient perspective is coming from, and totally from the opposite corner of the spectrum. I also bring a competitive sports background with me. Raced mountain bikes on a professional level for a couple of years. And yeah, this is me in a nutshell.
I am always so impressed, and I don't think I ever heard the mountain bike story, Nora, which reminds me we have so much still to learn about each other, and I'm thankful for that as well. Putting it into context, so Christy, I met you because you're my master coach. I got trained by you, and that's how this beautiful story started. And Nora, we connected in what was supposed to be a very boring supply chain management event, where people were talking and a lot of boring slides, and you chose to bring the human side and show what really matters, not for that industry, but for the world. And then you immediately captured my attention, my
But
heart.
I know it's out of topic of the meeting today, but I tell you, supply chain gets really challenging and is so important if we look at LMICs, because if you
Yes,
don't get the supply in the countries, everything else is just not
nothing
as
works.
important.
Yes, nothing works. And it only works in the right ways when you put the mind where it matters the most. And that's what I felt that you do and how you drive it. And that's why I was always so very inspired by you. So glad to have both of you here with me today. The topic is thankfulness. And I have written in A Life in Motion that thankfulness, a feeling, is the first step towards being grateful, which I labeled as an action. Combining the both produces a blissful state of mind that is hard to experience in any other way. And for me, it's the tiny moments that I was talking about, and I was hearing from colleagues in the previous session of the podcast, where you can find that thankfulness in the whole experience that then helped me moving into this action and then willing to connect with the community and give back. But I'm very curious about your definitions and how you feel about it. So maybe, Christy, you could get started. What is thankfulness for you?
It's such an interesting question because I don't think I've ever used the word thankfulness, and maybe I don't know if I'm a Native American, so I mean I'm a native English speaker from America, and I think I would use the word gratitude. But then when you used the word thankfulness, I thought, oh, I really like it so much more because it feels like a fullness. The fullness part of thankfulness feels so much more enriching than the word gratitude, which feels a little bit more distant, like maybe you're being grateful for something out there that happened, whereas thankfulness is such a lovely word that feels like it's kind of welling up from inside. Um, and my kids all know that my favorite holiday, the one that I never ever miss in however many 25 plus years of living outside of the United States, is Thanksgiving. And so it's always on a Thursday in November. And it's such an interesting holiday because it reminds us that we're not going to die. We got enough food from the harvest that we can store away our pumpkins and our apples and our corn and just these really basic needs for life, and that we will survive the winter. And I don't care what country I'm in or what's going on. I will bake some apple pies, and I really like that earthy, just make a pumpkin soup, whether I'm in Kenya or France. It doesn't matter what the weather is. I'm just going to be like, yeah, the earth is so good to us. It provides everything we need, and it's worth celebrating. We're alive. We're here. We're together. We have food. Just back to the basics. And to me, thankfulness is so much this welling of joy at having enough, which we do. It's not even about
And
abundance. It's just
yeah,
enough. There's
you said not about having enough, and I know that this is a topic very dear to you. How would you bring being enough into the equation?
Yes. In fact, there's a book sitting right behind me. It's called something like A Life of Being, Doing, and Having Enough. But starting with being, your being is enough, which is something that is really important to me, because I think you know this about me, Eduardo, is that I have a genetic condition that sometimes puts me into a lot of pain. And so being in my body is not always very pleasant, including this morning. But it's still enough. Like, even if my body were to decline or be in more pain, I think there's something about being alive that is so amazing, that we can be together in this room virtually right now is a miracle.
It is. It is. And we were chatting about it earlier in the morning, how when you take that perspective, even the small tech issues that happen here and there, they are less of an annoyance, and you can really change the focus into what you're doing, the value you're bringing, the experience you're having with other human beings. So definitely love your definition and how you feel about it, Christy. Nora, I would love to hear about your definition and your thoughts, because you have been asking interesting questions over the.
Sure, and I already have the feeling that Christy, besides that, I think she has like the background to know it better, and she has like it's her mother tongue, and then she brought the aspect of Thanksgiving, which makes it even more confusing to me, because what resonated the most with me in the discrimination between gratefulness and thankfulness is that gratefulness is more a state of being, and it's more focused towards the outside. So not that much on what you achieved. And then I, as a scientist, find it super interesting that you actually can measure that you have a higher dopamine and serotonin release if you practice or if you feel gratefulness. And I think we all have those moments where you're just like, I recall that I was sitting on the balcony in the summer, and you're just like grateful for the moment, even though things could be better, because things could always be better, right? We wouldn't be here, we wouldn't be in the moment if we would not like to improve it. But I still think you can like be grateful for the moment, how you feel it, and still have ambitions. While what I found for thankfulness is that it's more transactional, and it's more based on our upbringing, on our behavior, on our good manners. So if I shuffle the snow for somebody, I somewhat expect that this person's gonna say thanks, because that's how we are brought up, right? So it's more something which I already expect because we are taught that way. And then I find it super interesting. It's not only that it's transactional, it's also that this does not lead to like the serotonin and dopamine release, and therefore not to a longer fulfillment in our state of being.
I can definitely feel, especially the transactional aspect that you're talking about. Oftentimes, especially when reading, I have noticed not necessarily that I make this difference, but that this difference being made. That thankful would come often when it was a lighter and more reaction kind of
Mm.
to life, to something that was happening, while grateful was rather something that you feel a little bit deeper inside, and often even going back to past situations and yes, memories that you bring from your life. If we would try to combine the two, so thankfulness with gratefulness, or being grateful, where would we land?
To me, there's so much about being present in the moment. And then, Nora, when you were talking about remembering present moments, I think that's also part of it. So as you were talking, a story came to my mind of the other day. So I have this genetic condition that just a lot of my joints are often in pain. And so I occasionally do a lot of complaining about it, but usually I find that gratitude is so much more helpful. One of the things I do is I spend a lot of time in my hot tub, which I'm so grateful. I have a husband who loves me very much and who bought me a hot tub. I think it was last Christmas. And I can just go out there and I have no idea how much time is passing. I feel zero pain. My whole body is just being supported in the water. It's warm. I can think really well out there. And so I had no idea how long I'd been sitting there, but it started raining and the rain was really cold and the water was really hot. And it was just all of a sudden this kind of overwhelming feeling of joy because I could feel each drop on my face so specifically. And then I kind of went horizontal in the pool and I was looking out at the water to each side of my face, and each drop was having such a fun dance because as it dropped into the water, you scientists would know about what water does next, and it would jump back up to meet the thing, and they were each jumping at different heights, and they were having so much fun, and I found myself just laughing and enjoying the moment so much. And I was like, oh. And the rainstorm only lasted maybe 2 minutes or something, but it was just so fun that I told the story maybe 3 or 4 more times during the day, that day and the next day, because repeating that moment of joy and gratitude is another way of intensifying, focusing, sharing it with someone else, and the connection between people when you're like, oh yeah, I've seen water do that too. And isn't that fun? And so just recognizing the moment of enjoyment and sharing the moment of enjoyment and repeating the moment of enjoyment. Joyful moments are meant to be so short, just like moments of pain are so short. And so it's like just staying in them is in itself a glorious thing. It's like this one moment of eternity, regardless of whether it's a moment of pain or grief or goodness or joy or whatever it is. Just being there in itself, to me, is something to be really thankful for and to notice and share.
I'm so inspired by that thought, Christy, and planning now to run to the hot tub after lunch and just
Come on over.
Yeah, I think I can build on that because I like it so much, and I also could just really see, well, this is where channeling comes into place. And I do believe we can intentionally be more grateful or build on the positive aspects in our lives and try to memorize them or build on them. But I think we all have the tendency that we just complain a lot and that it just always has more a negative edge on it. And I think we all experience that. I mean, you could have gotten upset that it starts raining while you're in the hot tub, right? But instead of that, you're just really enjoying the water droplets. I mean, I started my journey here to Paris this morning at 4 o'clock, but then I'm like hopping in the taxi and I'm like so proud of myself that I actually managed to communicate with the taxi driver in French. And it feels like first time that this actually works. And then he explained me like all those little things because we had like an hour taxi ride. So we passed like where they took down the stones in the 17th century to build Paris and all this stuff. And I thought it's actually so joyful. So I think we can change a lot, and we can change a lot how we engage with each other and with ourselves if we build more on those positive aspects.
I can
In
see
fact,
you with your taxi driver and another taxi right by your side, and then you're having this communication with your taxi driver and you feel thankful for having that experience. And that brought you the joyful, blissful moment, and you were enjoying and you're having a great time and a great human experience. And in this other taxi right next to you, you have a person that is feeling annoyed that the taxi driver is trying to communicate and it's not looking at any of these things and is feeling more stressed and getting ready to a stressful meeting just by piling up these negative emotions. And then you wonder how one person is going to live that day and how the other person is going to live that day. Sorry, Chrissy, you wanted to add something.
I was just thinking sometimes it's the juxtaposition between the light and dark, or like, this could have been aggravating, or this was really annoying. And then your mindset shift to move toward having a fullness of thanks and gratitude in the moment, or like, oh, this is going to be so hard to speak in French, but I did it and I got to where I was going. And it's like, yay. It's almost more exciting if there was maybe an anticipation of difficulty or hardship or something.
Yeah, and it just came to my mind, and I think it's so nice because we can tie that back to the ambition, right? Because I mean, this should fuel your ambition, because you see that with that experience that it's worth that you learn some French. So then you could this could really motivate you to accelerate.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you jump into the question. Let's get
I
deep into
tied it
that.
back.
Let's make that connection now. What I understood you're saying is that yes, practicing gratitude makes us more ambitious, but maybe leads into fulfilling some of that human authentic ambition. Is that what you're saying, Nora?
I mean, I can see that. I mean, out of a positive perspective, you have an experience which helps you to want something more in a positive sense. And I think this is something which fuels your ambition. And then additionally to that, I also think that if you're grateful, you're more grounded and you're calmer, which also helps you then to see your ambition in a more holistic way and maybe not so self-driven. Maybe then your ambition is more because you would like to improve the world, or you would like to improve the life in Kenya, and not so much because you would like to have the next title, or you would like to earn 50,000 more.
Absolutely. Would you like to reflect on that, Christy?
Yeah, I mean, and going back to what you said earlier, Nora, about the transactional, when things are transactional, you don't get the dopamine and the serotonin that you would have had just from the pure joy of being in the moment. Like if there's expectation that someone should be grateful to me, or oh, I should send a thank you note to my grandmother, or like these supposed tos and have tos. It's such a different feeling than just the pure joy of being here in this moment and having everything and more than anyone could ever need or want in this life. And then, yeah, ooh, wouldn't it be fun if we could save more people's lives by making sure that the supply chain and like the joy of when you see somebody got the medicine to that village in Rwanda because their neighbor cared enough to get on their bike and get it there. wow, how can we make this easier and more fun and smoother and all these things because you love it. And it's this real internal fullness that you're experiencing about it. And then of course you're going to get more of all the happy hormones, and that's how I'm feeling right now. I was telling Eduardo I was in a lot of pain this morning. Like, I'm not in pain at all anymore. Just being with you two, having this conversation is so much fun. Makes me want to do more podcasts, more LinkedIn Lives.
Ah, you see, that's something already coming out of this. I love it. I
Yeah.
love it, and it has a relation to ambition. In that sense, I could even foresee to make the statement. Yes, it may make us more ambitious overall. I am
And
reflecting
then there
now on the word ambitious because some people take it very negatively and others take it very positively. Is that also an effect of being thankful and grateful, or it's completely unrelated?
I personally would not have put them together because to me, ambition does imply a sense of not enoughness, or that things aren't already okay, that you have an ambition to change something. But it's one of those paradoxes. I think even in the world of coach training, we, at least at Awaken, one of the core teachings is that people change when they're loved. No change comes through trying to fix anybody. You will get resistance. You will get, somebody will push back if you're like, "Oh, you could be this much healthier, you could be this much better," and just that somebody else would want to fix or change you is like, no, no, thanks. I'm healthy enough as it is. Maybe that's just me being a little rebellious. I don't know, but I think a lot of us resist getting fixed by someone else, and even our own shoulds and have tos, if it's linked to ambition, can really kind of be an energy killer. But change and growth and joy are byproducts of gratitude. So it's this one of those beautiful paradoxes. The more you love your life, the more beautiful things you're going to make. If that means ambition to you, great. I don't know that I would use the word that way, but I could see if ambition feels joyful and accepting and something else to someone, that's great.
Where it comes from, right? Who's the driver? Is the driver a need, lacking, not being enough kind of sense, or is it a growth, development, doing things for the service, as of service for the community and the Nora, would you like to comment?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting that ambition actually can be broken down in basically two essentials, and one is mastery. And I think it doesn't really matter what. I think we as humans, we always have the tendency that we would like to master something.
Hmm.
And this can be at work, this can be like the new sports you picked up, painting. I think it can be everything. And I totally see that this is a human driver for me to be good in something, to master something. But then it's also to get the recognition for it. And I mean, a lot of things which we do and try to master, we lose the appetite from them if we don't get the recognition for it. So, and I think both of those parameters are like I see them and I see that they play a huge part, but for me they are also have a positive aspect. Yeah. So I mean I know that ambition can have a negative connotation. I mean for me a lot of it is how we are as human beings. And I think that we always want to grow, improve, and move along in our path, which works for me with ambition. And then, which I also found interesting, is that a lot of people who actually practice gratitude, they do have a higher self-esteem, they are more optimistic, which I also think, I mean, if you are optimistic, you're gonna be more ambitious, as well as persistence.
And I'm thinking about that. That is a comment from the community coming from Rizvin. By the way, Nora, he appreciate your reflections and reactions. And he mentioned that sometimes it's important not to get hallucinated by achievements or breakdown on setbacks. Be grounded and move on to the next phase with gratitude. And I think it connects back to that experience that we were just talking about. I feel that this works so much better from a developmental perspective, growth perspective, when we have this ability to be thankful for what's happening, not getting hallucinated by it, which means that we also understand the role other people play into whatever is happening in our lives. Because maybe the missing piece we didn't yet discussed here is where are other people in that big picture of thankfulness and feeling grateful, right? We are thankful, but does that mean that we say thanks to the nice husband that prepared the hot tub? Or does it mean that we are just keeping that in our minds? And maybe I would love to hear from you. What's your perspective on that? So where are the others in the picture when we talk about thankfulness and gratefulness?
I love this question. I have like 50 answers already.
That's good. We need content. I'm thankful.
So another story. So one of my favorite stories from when we were living in Kenya, I used to go to the Nakumat grocery store on Monday mornings, and I would come home, and some weeks I would have purchased a little 50-cent carton of drinking yogurt, which was my daughter Layla's favorite. She just loved it. And it was 50 cents. It was so inexpensive. But we lived with a lot of students, and not everyone could afford something for 50 cents. It was not a need. It was a want. It wasn't your basic food. It was something that was a little extra. And so I would come home with her drinking yogurt, and the first thing she would do is go, Lady is gonna love this. And she would go get 2 straws, and then she would run out the door and go to her friend Lidi's house and say, Lidi, my mom got us drinking yogurt. And they would double their joy because they both had the straw, and they would sit there looking into each other's eyes, and they'd just enjoy it so much more because they did it together. And I think that's true of me too. Like I enjoy my hot tub a lot by myself, but I also enjoy it when somebody wants to join me. And it's like we can both be like, my sister's coming to visit me soon, and it's like, yay, we're gonna have so much fun out there. We love being in water and the joy of sharing it. The other thing that came to mind while you were talking, Nora, about recognition is, I think a lot of it depends on our education too. Like if you put your kids in a Montessori school or a Schneider program or something where the joy of learning itself is all there is. The kid got to go and pick up a couple things, and they figured out how they fit together. And it's like, oh, I figured it out. That's amazing. Kind of like, oh, I spoke French to the taxi driver. That was amazing. I'm really proud of myself. I want to learn to do this more. And it almost reduces the joy if somebody comes along and says, oh, okay, you get a 19 out of 20 for that, or you get an A plus. Like all of a sudden the purity of the joy is somebody else is grading it or giving you a pat on the back or something. And so I think one of our biggest jobs in coaching is to help people to experience what is it like to really love learning and being yourself, regardless of what someone else thinks of you. But I don't think that takes away from the joy of sharing with someone else.
Don't you think we all have that we really enjoy? I mean, especially like before, let's say, before school starts, so in a very young age.
I think we
children
need to be
just
careful, though, as parents, how we do it. My favorite and only parenting book is Whole Child, Whole Parent, and it talks a lot about praise and criticism. And I think as a mom, there's something I can do with my kids to be like, you put that together, or, whatever the thing was, or like, oh, you walked, you took a step. That's so exciting. But it's more of a shared joy than a grade or an A plus, or then going and bragging to the neighbor that my kid got their first tooth. Like what? It happened. But why are we so comparing and grading our experiences so much of the time?
I was reading Authentic Happiness. I think it was there that the author was also discussing a little bit that how much we try then to focus on specific outcomes and give praise to outcomes, and how that creates a hook then later on the adults that have this need for external recognition. And then how this need for external recognition leads to a number of difficulties in life, not feeling to be enough, always needing the next thing in order to achieve the next thing or in order to experience something else. And his proposal or his shift was to more be grateful and to be thankful and to manifest joy for the process rather than the outcome. So you're trying to learn something, and as you are advancing in that something, yeah, let's celebrate that. Then you celebrate and ask, how do you feel about it? Because it's not important as how you as a parent felt and all the joy that you felt. It's important what the child is feeling. And then the child is feeling these wonderful things like it's excited, it's thrilled, it's enthusiastic, it's curious, and all these things would actually make you feel as a parent even more energized. It's all positive reinforcement. The moment you stop that cycle just to praise, oh, you got this really good grade, congratulations, then that's the stopping point, isn't it? That's the hook where people are going to keep coming back to. And that was something that exploded my mind being a young parent, and my kids are still 12. So I do get a chance to correct some of my own behaviors, not all of them, but at least some of them, and try to shift that a little bit more towards the developmental process and life experiences rather than, okay, what did you achieve? Because otherwise we are just achievement oriented, isn't it?
When you ask about where like the human aspect or how are other humans coming into play, if we talk about gratefulness and ambition, what came to my mind was like the whole blue zone theory. And I mean, I'm not 100% sure, but I would say it's probably also some hormonal releases which we have if we communicate with each other. And if Christy even feels that if we communicate via two dimensions, I think it has a huge aspect on our well-being. Another thing which has a lasting effect, because if you have a good conversation, you're gonna digest the conversation afterwards and you think about it, right? And you might think, oh, I could have said that, or you're just like reflecting on what the responses were. And then if this is a person you see more frequently, you can build up on that afterwards. So I think in the whole gratefulness and thankfulness discussion, other people have a huge aspect.
I really appreciate that perspective because I almost never remember to look back at how far I've come and gratefulness for what's already happened. And so that's something I'm really hoping to learn because it's so powerful. I'm always kind of slightly or very far into the future, which does make gratitude more difficult if I'm always thinking like, oh, okay, I really want to get to the point where I can buy a house, or I want to complete the upgrade on my course and redo the video. Like I'm just so much in the future, so much of the time. And I do get a lot of joy from the future. Like anticipating good things is really happy for me. But sometimes I wonder if I'm missing half the happiness that I could have had. Like after this conversation is done, it would not be very likely that I would look back on it and say and think anything about it. It's just like, okay, that's in the past. What's next? I'll be on to my next thing.
The video cutting is next, so you better remember what you said.
I said that. Are you sure? It's
No.
gone. It's in the past.
I love it. I love it. And yes, I can definitely feel and share that with you, Chrissy. I think it's something we will talk in another session on visualization. That's also another element that we bring that causes us to live a better life in so many senses. And I have experienced with other entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs like you, that have this mindset of seeing what comes next and already getting ready to collect all the great results, outcomes that will come from your efforts, from your ideas, and so on and so forth. And then love how you reflect. Okay, and that is also probably an opportunity to at the same time feel grateful for the things that happen and combine those things as we keep developing as human beings. And there is always so much we can do different and better, right? I felt
Well,
really
you were
inspired.
asking too, like how other people are involved. And so even like Nora reminding me that like, oh, you can look back at things and also be grateful for that. And then my oldest child who works with Awaken also, her favorite thing to do is she collects during twice from each group that comes through our coach training course. She collects the feedback and kind of looks through the data and says what we'll upgrade for next time. And one of her favorite things is she's like, Mom, I thought you'd love this one. And she kind of pulls out, somebody will tell a story about how they loved their family member so much more since they took the course, or how much easier their life is now. And so she's like, Mom, another one. Look what a great job you did. She's the one who reminds me. She's more in the past than I am, and she knows how much I appreciate it when people are grateful or say words of affirmation or just express their enjoyment and take note and come back and say, yeah, I think my life is different and you were part of it. That's always fun.
Reminds me how we're all integrated and how much easier it is to live like that, right? With relationships like that, with family members, friends, business colleagues, and so on. I know that we are driving towards the end of the session, and I have a question for you on behalf of the audience. What is one little step that you would recommend anyone to take right now towards being thankful, feeling thankful, and being grateful or feeling grateful? Christi, maybe you could get this started with?
I do think there's something to be said about expressing gratitude, especially writing it down. There have been times in my life when I have written thank you notes to people who've meant a lot to me. And I always feel so much better after I've taken the time, because you do slow down, and especially handwritten, but also little notes. I did it a couple days ago. I sent a couple of messages to some of my old teachers from, 40 years ago, and just say, that was really thoughtful of you to have done that. It made a big difference in my life. And I felt so much better after expressing that. And I think that deepening the joy by sharing it with others is just, you're never going to go wrong with that.
I don't think so. Loved it. Christi, Nora, what is one step you would suggest?
So for me, it would be finding every day some me time, which you just spend for yourself and with something which you enjoy. And I don't think this has to be the same thing for the next decade, but just really reserving whatever, half an hour every day just for you and follow something which you like. And this could be like playing an instrument. And I also believe we all could still start to learn a language, play an instrument, pick up a new sport. We might not get professional in it anymore, but I still think we can enjoy it a lot. Then maybe be grateful about the progress as well, or thankful about the progress, but also just really like having some time in all the huts and buzz we have every day, which is reserved for ourselves.
You connect so deeply with me. I don't think you would ever even guess. I've taken the piano to play uh, 15, according to the app, 60 weeks ago. That is a little bit over a year. And I have been feeling exactly like that. First, thankful for having the space, for having the time, for having the instrument, for having something that I shared with my daughter. And then so deeply grateful that I see the progress, and to your point that I don't need to, and maybe this connects with ambition as well, that I don't need to become a professional pianist, or I don't even visualize myself in an orchestra or in a city hall or anything like that. But I can gather one or the other friend and have fun and create more of these blissful moments that are enabled by what we build continuously, that then Christi connects with the development and growth that you talked about. That is not necessarily aiming on an outcome, but definitely on living the experience. Ladies, you are wonderful. I have one last question to you. How can people from the audience connect or work with you? Maybe this time starting with you.
So I start to actually be pretty active on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is really a good place to find me. I would love to connect with all of you because I think opportunities like that always widen my horizon because it gives me different avenues to think through. Yeah, and I'm also I'm now 2 years back in sort of Switzerland. I'm trying to move my family back to Switzerland. Therefore, I'm happy to build a network and would love to connect with all of you.
Thank you so much. Christi, how can
I'll do
people
that.
work
I
and
want to
connect
meet
with
you for coffee.
I love that. I'm so grateful for that
Just
you believe in this
come
Yay!
me from
experience.
Nairobi and I'm all yours.
Will do. Yes. If you want to connect with me, just go to awakencoachinstitute.com. There's lots of free, I think there's a tab on there called free resources, and there's free classes you can take. There's a free forgiveness course, a free taster of our MCC program, of our level 1 program. If you like YouTube, you can also go to Awaken Coach Institute on YouTube, see a bunch of our podcasts and things. Anything Awaken Coach Institute that's out there, you'll find me. There's a Q&A, book a free Q&A call if you want to chat more about coach training or anything else. Thanks.
Thank you. It goes without saying that I strongly recommend the audience to connect both with Christi and with Nora. I have had this pleasure now for many, many years, and today it feels like putting these experiences even closer together. To your point and question, Nora, I do feel thankful right now, and I do feel grateful for the overall experience and where life has been bringing me. And here, wrapping up this episode with the two of you. Thank you so very much. Thank you for the audience who also participated, and I'm looking forward to the next episode. Have a great day.
Thank you so much for organizing that, Eduardo.
Yes, thank you. And I love our mutual joy